everyone, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. Tonight is a committee meeting. I am acting as President Pro Tem this evening, and I will also be chairing the first committee meeting. Today is Monday, July 9th, 2012. And first up is the City and Services Safety Committee, which I just mentioned I will be chairing. This evening we have a presentation by the Athens Municipal Arts Commission. Bob Winters is going to be primarily directing us through this discussion with a number of guest speakers as well. We are going to be listening to a report or some feedback regarding the A and EP4 presentation data collection, which was an Arts and Economic Prosperity grant that Council helped funded. And with that information, there was a number of surveys that were put out throughout the community, and a lot of data was collected. So tonight is a little introduction to some of that information. Thank you, Bob.
Good evening. My name is Bob Winters, and I'm the chair of the Athens Municipal Arts Commission. We call it AMAC for short. It's a lot otherwise. A group appointed by Athens City Council to make recommendations to the mayor, city council, and the community in order to enhance the existing cultural resources of the area, to encourage new opportunities for the creation, performance, and exhibition of all of the arts, and to promote policies and activities that preserve the beauty, history, and culture of the region. In fall of 2010, Athens City Council voted to match a grant offered by Americans for the Arts, the nation's leading nonprofit organization for advancing the arts and arts education. These funds, with other matching funds, would enroll AMAC and Athens County as a partner in the Arts and Economic Prosperity 4 ANEP 4 National Study of the Impact of Nonprofit Arts in the national and local economy of each of its partners. The Athens County Economic Development Council, with the support of the Athens County Commissioners, and a private citizen, Judith Deso, provided additional funding required to permit AMAC to be a partner in this research. I served as the primary project contact with ANEP4. My AMAC colleagues and I are here tonight first to thank you for your support and to present you with the results of the research study, your investment in ANEP4. We will share with you a video of area leaders giving us the facts and figures. This matches a sheet that's in your packets right there. It's a summary sheet with the AMAC logo and the ANEP4 logo and all of that up at the top, and the Arts Council logo. This is where their information, a lot of it came from. I will share with you this video and the facts and the figures, and include a snapshot of the arts, which we prepared basically a year ago for an Arts Council grant and updated a little bit. I will then introduce each of the AMAC members, who will each briefly fill you in on what we believe needs to be done next and share an announcement or two. We will then be open for your questions or comments. We will be available for questions from the media after the council meeting, but first, the movie.
Exposure and participation in the arts cultivate talent, teamwork, and perspective. The arts reveal the history, beauty, variety, inspiration, the joy and vitality of the human spirit. They confront us with ambiguity, doubt, and skepticism. They prepare us to be responsible citizens in the turbulent, ever more complex and diverse world. In the Athens County area, the arts are also a vital business sector.
This Arts and Economic Prosperity 4 Report of the Economic Impact of Nonprofit Arts and Culture Organizations in Athens County, Ohio, is a part of a national study of 182 partners. It provides hard evidence of the economic power of nonprofit arts in our area. In fiscal year 2010, the 40 participating Athens County area nonprofit arts and culture organizations expended more than $16.75 million. Their attendees expended an additional more than $7.5 million, excluding ticket prices. The expenditures by the participating organizations and their attendees totaled $24,349,791. These expenditures supported 739 full-time equivalent jobs in the Athens County area.
In addition, participating organizations have reported 68,000 hours of donated time, which is valued by A&EP4 at over $1.4 million, plus an additional $1.3 million of in-kind contributions.
2010, this economic impact generated taxes and licenses, revenues of $1.1 million in local government and $1 million in state government.
According to the A&EP4 study, over 295,000 people participated in nonprofit arts-related events in Athens County during the year 2010. 33% of these participants came from outside of the Athens area. And to give you an idea of the impact that those visitors brought with them, an overnight guest spent an average of $153 per person, and a day visitor to the arts in our area spent an average of $45 per person. 67% of our participants stated that they came from outside of the area, specifically to Athens, for these arts-related events. And this shows us not only the tremendous impact that the arts have, but the tremendous potential that the arts show to our region in attracting more visitors.
The calculator provided in the A&EP4 study indicates that each $100,000 in arts culture organization expenditures creates 3.18 full-time equivalent jobs in the local economy, almost $80,000 in resident household income, $3,600 in local government revenue, and an additional $3,500 in state government revenue.
Strategies marketing the culture tourism events will bring economic development, additional jobs into the Athens County area. The A&EP4 study indicates that these economic benefits will stay in the area and recirculate, and the money won't go out to outside corporations or managers, but rather stay in our own community.
We have a thriving arts community. Investment in marketing strategies that attract people to existing assets and developed attractions will increase support for our area artists, our arts organizations, and related businesses while improving the quality of life for citizens. Our arts organizations and artists are poised and ready to grow. Our existing resources are not at capacity. We want larger audiences.
Pardon, stranger, did you say you're from Ohio? Say, on there was you? Well, I guess we're about the same age. And I'm mighty glad to see you, a stranger for the sake of the love I bear to old Ohio. Still, the spell is on me and the music's in my strike the name from old Ohio. Still the spell is on me and the music's in my ears. Still the beauty shines in me, although the fever is dear. Still my heart goes back to her once again for years, back into the scenes of old Ohio. Still her spell is on me and the music's in my ears. Still her beauty shines in me, although the fever is dear. Still my heart goes back to her once again for years, back into the scenes of old Ohio.
I should clap.
Yeah.
Our cameraman and editor, your very own.
Thank you, Ryan.
But a great job you did. Well, the very serious question is, where do we go from here? This is this material. You have some of that material. Anybody in the audience tonight that would like to get copies of this facts and figure sheet from which this is, we have plenty of copies here for you, et cetera, et cetera. But let's get on to meeting the various commissioners. First, I'd like to introduce Bill Morgan, who is the vice chair of AMAC. He's an architect in the community who has previously served as a director of economic development for a multi-county agency. And locally, he served on many arts organization boards and other civic activities. Bill?
Hello. For several years, AMAC has been hosting county-wide conversations in regard to forming a coordinating organization. A goal is to bring the arts organizations, the individual artists, related businesses, and their supporters together. This will strengthen marketing on a scale leading to significant cultural tourism-based economic development. Supporting advocacy and enhanced quality of life for the citizens of the region are also included in the proposed mission. Recent discussions with Donna Collins, Executive Director of the Ohio Citizens for Arts, offer the possibility of forming an Athens County area Citizens for the Arts that would be modeled on the state organization. This would allow us to have access to their resources, expertise, contacts, tax ID for development and funding. They see the possibility of exploring this with us, serving as a pilot project that could be replicated in other parts of the state. Thank you.
Yeah. Andrea Lewis is supposed to be speaking now to you, but she's stuck in a car somewhere between here and Columbus. So if you don't mind, I will read in for Andrea, and you can say, I thought I heard Andrea. We are pleased to announce that with the support of the Charles O. Blennis Foundation, AMAC is creating an arts website for the Athens County area. Its name is AthensAreaArts.com. If you were to look it up right now on your search engine, you would find it listed at the top of the page. But truth to tell, it is only currently filled with placeholder gibberish while they build it this summer. The website will include an opportunity for all artists and all arts organizations in the Athens County area to have their own free individual page, indexed by area and coordinated into marketing calendars with our partnership, in our partnership with the Athens County Convention and Visitors Bureau and with WOUB events calendar. Athens Area Arts will be soft launched by designer Roman Warmke at Eaton Marketing in early August and hard launched in early September. Again, if you want questions about this later. Our next, in addition to his master's in drug and alcohol counseling, Counselor Kent Butler has a BFA in the School of Art at Ohio University. He's a counselor at Bassett House. Kent also serves as an Athens City Council member. Kent.
Thanks, Bob. And having a spot at the table for the AMAC meetings, I feel compelled to share tonight. Something that we have noted here is the powerful end of marketing related to the arts. Such an example would be in Western New York, the Arts Trail. They've put together 29 individual artists with a number of different specialties and added local galleries and art shops to a map, which Bob has on display here, with studios and the shops. Very beneficial information there. They have
They're all on this page. The location of their studios are all shown on this map. On the back are their home addresses and places to make individual or group appointments with them. Features local hotels, motels, local food, local shops.
Within that community, they've established 8 annual events, from a few days to more than weekends, and include information about lodging and dining. They sometimes feature their local breweries and wine industry as well. Interestingly enough, these are then marketed all over the region, as well as the Cleveland area, Jamestown, Rochester, upstate Canada, Chautauqua area. Again, getting the marketing message out there. And a viable website, chautauquaarttrail.com. Here in our community, as we know from the presentation as well as from living here, we have very similar resources. The Dairy Barn, notably the Quilt National. We have the Kennedy Art Museum, Alpaca, Final Fridays, the art shops in Nelsonville, Passion Works, and many other local artists, as well as similar venues. Brew Week, Farmers Market, a 30-mile meal. Notably, too, we have big events with the Paw Paw Festival. Many individual artists in our area would like to be have access to this marketing world. All these organizations have additional capacity, financial challenges, and the need for more customers. With the leadership of their stakeholders and willing investors, it's possible that we can significantly increase economic development in this part of our cultural tourism industry, while supporting our artists and the related businesses by supporting assets that we have in this community. Obviously, the website was noted, which is coming up in September. We have the events and the artists. Now we need investment in the marketing within the region. Thanks.
Yeah. My pages aren't turning very well. 3 of our commissioners are educators as well as artists. First up is Beth Braun. She's a faculty member in the Ohio University School of Music and director of the Athens Community Music School. Beth?
Good evening and thank you. My first job is to call your attention to the fact that the week of September 9 through 15, 2012, has been declared by the U.S. House of Representatives as the National Arts and Education Week. So as such, I'm pleased to announce that on Monday the 10th and Tuesday the 11th of September, AMAC and the Athens County area will host Randy Cohen, who's the Distinguished Vice President for Research and Policy at Americans for the Arts. He's among the most noted experts in the field of arts funding, research, policy, and using the arts to address community development issues. His publications include the National Arts Index and Creative Industries. He collaborated with the President's Committee on the Arts and the Humanities to create the Coming Up Taller report on arts programs for youths at risk. He regularly appears in the news media, including the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, CNN, CNBC, NPR. It's quite a coup that we'll have Randy Cohen here to celebrate this great achievement for our area.
All of you know our next commissioner, Carol Patterson. She is, again, serving as drama director at the Athens High School. She's very active in the League of Women Voters, and in her former days, as a member of Athens City Council, was instrumental in the formation of AMAC.
Hi, guys. I feel strangely at home. And even my son, Steve, over there. Thank you for allowing this time for presentation of these arts informational materials. It's great news for us, as is the visit of Randy Cohen in September. This man's pretty impressive. When you collaborate with Barack Obama and Robert Redford, that's what I'm in it for. I'm hoping to meet him. This is, top level person coming to Athens. He won't be here very long, but we plan on keeping him really busy, including the availability of visiting you on September 10th at the regular council committee meeting. He will also meet with artists, business people, government officials, educators, and leaders in all of those areas. And then if he has any energy left, he will be meeting with the media and the public, as well as artists and arts organizations. So we're all very excited about all of that. And I came reasonably close to sticking to the script.
As well as I thought. Michael Tobar continues his work as one of the initial members of AMAC. He's a musician who plays both piano and flute, everything from classical music to jazz and piano roll. He's often seen as a performer throughout southeastern Ohio and works with Youth Athens. He is a music teacher in the Marietta school system. Michael.
Good evening. Randy Cohen offered to come here on his own. He made an unexpected offer when his visit to our area was confirmed. He's quite interested in meeting and talking with all the public school officials and higher education students and with teachers, administrators, and advisors. As can be seen, Randy Cohen will be very busy when he is visiting with us, but we will work to arrange both formal and informal conversations for him to meet with those groups who are in the front line of education process during his stay with us. And we're very much looking forward to him being here with us and talking with you and all of our area educators and what we can do for arts promotion in our area. Thank you.
Information packets have been distributed to each of you council members so you can see how the research was done. The national report is 350-some pages long, so I thought maybe not. The report that is specifically targeted for Athens County is 30-some pages, and you have a copy of it in there that shows you in great detail what additional funds would mean. It shows you a great many other things, and maybe they'll come up in the questioning that I can answer you some concerns. The bottom line is that because it turns out it's an advantage to be in Athens County economically in this one sense, we're not a bedroom for community for anywhere else. So when the arts organizations spend money, 80 cents on the dollar goes immediately back into the economy and household income. 7 cents goes into taxes for both the local and the state. And when you compare that to some other opportunities and economic development, it kind of makes them look quite a bit different. One of the big things we haven't talked about here is that the attendance in this year that we kept the attendance records was 295,090, which is 4.7 times the population of Athens County. It's a significant thing. We are in a position, if we can find somebody who will help invest in building a wide area marketing campaign to put our people to work, and not just the people in the arts. 1/3, as you saw in the report, 1/3 of the money that came in, other than ticket prices, was spent somewhere else in the community by people who'd come to the arts, but were spending it in restaurants and this and that, and paying somebody else's salaries and bills. If you want to look out what this really means, it means economic development, and it's whether you want to have a job, whether you want your kid to have a job, whether you want the next person over to have a job. That's one way we can do it without hiring more police, destroying the land, or whatever some other options pose. We will be doing 2 more public announcements this week. One tomorrow night at Stewart's Opera House at 6 o'clock for the people in that part of the county. And the other Thursday night at Arts West at 6 o'clock. And it'll be very much based on this, but again, at the end of it, we'll provide people the opportunity to ask questions and make comments and help guide us. So having said all that, now it's time for your questions and comments.
Thank you, Professor Winters. I appreciate all the time and energy that you've put into this for sure.
Boy, he got formal, didn't he? Professor.
I think additionally, the information presented is amazing when you consider the numbers, the data. Over $1 million to local government in taxes, as well as over $1 million to state government in taxes. It's really incredible information, and knowing that it's just incredible. It really is. So I'll stop blabbing here and open the floor for comments from my cohorts on council, and questions that they may have for Bob or various members of AMAC. Thank you.
Well, I'd just like to echo my thanks for all the work that's gone in on this and being part of this national partnership on the study, and quantifying the impact that it has on the community. You mentioned the possibility of developing your own 501c3 organization, and is that in partnership with the Ohio Citizens for the Arts? Because I know they've been a very effective lobbying group for the state.
A month ago, when we had just received this, in fact, it was about a month and a half ago, when we had just received all of this information in one packet, we invited Donna Collins, who's the executive director of both the Ohio Citizens for the Arts and the Ohio Arts Education Association, to come and tell us, okay, we have this, isn't this amazing? Now what do we do with it? Give us some ideas of how to approach this. And she spent a whole AMAC meeting giving us a whole bunch of ideas. One of them was our video. Never show up with just one person talking to people. And we can't carry all these people around everywhere, so we decided putting them on video. One of them was getting packets of information out to people, and that's what we're doing, and trying to work the media and stuff like that. And about in the middle of it, she said, I hear you all are thinking about forming a Chamber of Commerce-like organization for the arts, or some other 501c3. Let me suggest to you a possibility, she said. Let me suggest that perhaps you think about coming in and joining the Ohio Citizens of the Arts as a local, it would be the first, local area, county, And we would call it probably Athens County Area Citizens for the Arts. We have to
Number
put the
one.
area in there because we kind of sneak over the border a little bit. We sneak over for Fur Peace Ranch, and we sneak over for a couple, and maybe sneaking over, but because the artists don't know these borders. They don't care about borders, you know? I mean, there's no passports or anything. She said, why don't you think about that, because we might really be interested in that. She said, you could use our 501c3. Being an organization like they are, they have two tax IDs. One is a 501c4, under which part of their organization can do their lobbying and their government hustling and stuff like that. And the other is their foundation, which is the 501c3. She said, you could think about coming in and joining that, establish your own mission statement, establish your own group, your own set of priorities and goals and everything within our structure, and we could offer you the use of the 501c3. We could offer you the opportunity to use our resources, our, let's say it, power, our connections and stuff to try to help build up. So we sat there and we thought about it a little bit, and we said, well, what do you want out of this? She said, we want you, if this works and we agree to do it, we would want you to be an excellent example, because then we would want to use you as a statewide pilot organization to replicate and show other people how even in the most rural Appalachian, you know, our rating in Appalachia, we are a distressed county and stuff like that, how you guys can do this here, and if they can do this here, why can't they, you know, so that's what they would get out of it. They are, I suppose everybody knows this, and I don't need to say it, but I will. The Ohio Citizens for the Arts is an organization that was organized under the Americans for the Arts, which is the huge national organization that's big research and lobbying, and they're the ones that sponsor A&EP4. So OCA is the statewide version, and now they're inviting us to, I mean, let's say we're in an advanced stage of discussion.
Good.
Nothing's been signed. I can't figure out how we could go wrong.
It sounds like a good partnership, so.
It sounds like a great partnership. To me, Emily Prince, many of you know, is on their board, and she works at Arts West here in town. And so she's been there for a couple of terms now, so she has some real idea of what it's about, and it just seems to us that it just fits. I mean, all at once we'd move out of having a base in just Athens County to Central Ohio. And let's face it, one of the interesting things in the report is that if a person stays overnight in Athens County, what Paige brought up, they spend an average of $153. And if a person comes from out and just stays the day, it's $46, and a local person spends $16. It doesn't mean we don't want local people, but already we got 4.7 times the county population. So where is the saturation point of how many people in Athens County? No, we have to look at other markets. What if Ohio University could only recruit in Athens County? None of us would be here.
More questions from fellow council members.
Did I answer your question? with
You
all of
did,
this?
thank you, and it sounds like great progress. I appreciate it.
Yeah, not a question, but a comment. I am also just duly impressed with the numbers that I'm seeing. It's interesting knowing a lot of local artists and always being fans of local art. You're kind of in the trenches and you see things from a very myopic point of view. And when you look at these numbers, it becomes very clear the economic development that is generated by these numbers. And you're talking about 250 plus thousands of people coming to visit us in Athens. That's, you know, Herculean. So it's very impressive. I know in discussions that we've had, so this is my one question, is venue sizes. And I know that there's, several venues within the area, and are there ideas?
There are a lot of places right now. My snotty thing to say every once in a while is you can go to this or that other place and shoot off a Gatling gun 360 degrees and not hit anybody. Let's put it this way. This community, these people, you have invested in the Dairy Barn. You continue to invest in the film festival. You continue to invest in the Kennedy. You continue to invest in Passion Works. You continue to invest in Boogie on the Bricks. You continue to invest in all of these things. And you're investing in Stewart's, and you're investing in Paper Circle, and you're investing in Star Brick, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. And none of them are at capacity. There's only one organization of our 40 that really hits capacity, and that's Fur Peace Ranch, just over the border. And when I was talking with one of the local bankers about that, he said, that's kind of unfair. They do a wide area marketing. They market nationally and internationally. I said, precisely the point. Precisely. I mean, look at the great show they have at the Dairy Barn right now. We need something like this art tour thing worked up, so we need first year to do 2 or 3 events, learn how to do it, and 6 or 8 events, and move up to 6 or 8, maybe 10 events a year, and bring in bus tours and stuff like that, and arrange them around the university's use of all the motels. Yeah, there might have to be some more motels or hotels built or restaurants built. Oh, that's a bad thing? No, that's a good thing. The ability to move forward and improve ourselves. Right now, just this nonprofit part of it, if you put the university in it, and the College of Fine Arts and Hocking and all their arts programs, if you put in it all the commercial movie houses, the bars, the bands, the fairs, the festivals, if you put in all the stuff that we were allowed to put into it, well, right now we're 4th, 5th, or 6th in terms of size in the county of industries. What would it be then? Well, we did a lot of research before we even started this and found out that in Arkansas and Colorado and Boston and Philadelphia, the creative economy is what they call it, is the 2nd largest sector. We can improve. We can bring jobs here. We can put people to work. We can provide support. We can provide some of the money that the city and the state needs to do.
Thank you.
If we can find investors who will help us prime the pump.
Well, again, I think this is fantastic and a fantastic beginning. It would be, my dream with the beauty of Athens already, to see Athens become a destination station art stop along the Appalachian Trail would be phenomenal, I think, in my mind. And one last thing, Carol, to have you as my mother, thank you. That was wonderful.
Our target is next year. Summer of 2013, that road will be open or opening. Whole new things will be open to us. We'll have a great opportunity to go on marketing. Because, I grew up in Central Ohio for the first 20 years of my life, and know for a fact there's an awful lot of bored people sitting up there looking for something that would be interesting and somewhere where you can draw a breath.
Bob, I do think we have a few more comments or questions from this end of the room as well.
Totally appreciate everything. This is wonderful. Can you give City Council right now maybe 1 or 2 things you'd like us to do in the next month?
We need to find investors. Somebody who will be willing to say, I'm willing to put some money on the table to get these guys. I mean, you know, AMAC doesn't have a budget.
Right.
We've jerry-rigged all of this by begging and everything like that. We need some people to provide us a bit of money. We got to prime the pump. I wrote to Emily in a note earlier, this is too corny for words, but our arts, our seeds, our transplants, and our mulch, you can figure out which is which, I don't know. Our A&EP4 study is our soil sample, and it proves that our soil is fertile and ready to go. We need to prime the pump and start irrigating this and building the economy. I wish I could write a check. Maybe some people would be interested. But you people know a lot of people that might be willing to say, okay, and that's the biggest thing you can do, is help us find some resources with which to get that pump primed, because I think once we get it primed, I think we'll be going. I mean, where's the money going to come from eventually? Well, one of the places it's going to come from, every extra dollar that comes in is in the hotel motel tax. Part of it comes in, and, you know, where does that money go? I hope it would go into...
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, I think Member Reisner had a comment as well.
Jeff?
Do you have a figure in mind? How much?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't, because I just don't have that ability to determine that yet. I know that no one is going to give us just the check. I know, and I think this is part of the beauty of it, that it's going to be a lot of contributions from a whole lot of different people. And that's one of the reasons we're so interested in this OCA thing, because private citizens can join the OCA, or the Athens County Arts organization, and we can glue a lot of stuff together and glue together things and put them together and market them. And I know that somewhere tonight, if you haven't thought of it yet, you're going to ask about marketing. The deal we have with ACCVB is the marketing organization for the arts and culture and city and county. They're the tourism marketing organization. The agreement that Paige and I have worked out over a couple of years is she doesn't want to do the producing. She's not equipped to do the producing. She's not equipped to identify which ones should be most set up front and stuff. But once that's done by this arts group and the events are produced, she's ready then, if we can find some money for her, to do the marketing. She knows how to do that, so that's what she does. I'm not going to try to start a whole new thing.
Right.
Oh, Lord, no.
Thank you, Bob. I think Carol also had a comment as well.
Just a thought. You are leaders in Athens. You represent our city, and I've always felt that the arts had a lot of mental support across the board on city council. But these hard figures make it okay to be beyond that, to be truly supportive, to be advocates for the arts, and to work with us to find, Jeff, what that figure is and what we need it for, and move forward.
Right.
And I think all of those things can happen.
Yeah, thank you, Carol.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the comment, when we had the opportunity to meet with Donna Collins, Executive Director of Ohio Citizens for the Arts, I think to paraphrase her, she said, don't sit still and to pass on this excitement, because now we have the hard data, we have the numbers, and we can see the impact of the arts in our community, and it's amazing, it's wonderful. We're really blessed here. It's largely why a lot of us chose to call this home. So now we're getting the data to show us what it really brings to our community in a number of different ways, and to continue to support that.
I've lived here 50 years as an artist in theater. My grandmother actually grew up here in Nelsonville, but then they moved away, and I'm back the other end of the donut. And everywhere I've gone, it's, oh, the arts are just playthings, they're just lifestyle things, they're just this and that. It doesn't have any real economic impact. This is the first time that I know of we've ever had that evidence in our hand. And I'd have to be honest with you, none of us thought it was going to be anything like this. We thought that we were going to find some money, we thought we were going to find this and that and the other thing. But when you put together the cash money and the in-kind and the volunteers were close to $28 million.
So if I read this right, essentially you've discovered a resource that needs to be exploited.
We have exactly right. This same banker I was talking about is a very nice man who said up front, I'm not an arts guy. Said to me in the middle of the discussion, oh, I see, we're not really talking about the arts here, are we? We're talking about economic development. He said, you're trying to tell me that we have all these arts that already exist. We have these things, they're there, we've already paid for them. We're not going to have to build a new building. We're going to have to do this or that or the other thing. We have these things, and what we have to do, what we're failing to do, is market them and get people to take advantage of them. So that's where I come up with this investing.
Thank you. Michael, and then we'll try to wrap up this end of our discussion for committee. Thank you, Michael.
Yes, thank you. One of the initial goals that AMAC first voiced in our the beginnings of our meetings 8 years ago or so was that we hoped to make Southeast Ohio and Athens County an arts mecca for our region and the state. And these figures that come forth from this study prove that that capability is right there at our fingertips. A $24 million a year business with $1 million in local taxes, $1 million in state taxes, 739 full-time jobs, and it's just sitting here waiting to be exploited, as you put forth, Jeffrey. So thank you. Oh, one more thing too. Athens, when we first were formed as AMAC, we asked different entities and OAC whether there were any other cities our size that had any kind of a arts commission that was actually an arm of the city government. And we learned that our town is the only one in the state that has an arts commission that is an ordinance, created by ordinance, to do what we are doing. So
It's our mission to work with you.
it's a very unique situation. It's something I think we could all be very proud of, and we are in fact becoming leaders around the state for arts development, and so it's a very important thing, I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I believe that Acting Mayor Sands had a comment as well.
To say that we also, I'm sure all of us, suspected that the arts in our community were important. That's why we funded your study, and your study proved us all right. And I don't think you can stop any of us from supporting your ideas and working with you all.
I have no intention of doing so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob.
Mayor.
Any last closing comments, Bob, before we continue on with committee? Any last closing comments?
None that I have. Again, some of us are going to stick around and available to media or whoever has any questions after the whole meeting, not now, not in the hall, not messing around with what you guys are trying to do. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to miscellaneous. I don't know if there's any members of council besides myself here that have something to add to miscellaneous, but the first comment that I will share is that with the school year not too far away, interestingly enough, we're putting the ball forward here on acknowledging that we will have some Halloween ordinances coming up. Interesting to think about October in the heat of July. But we will be discussing 4 ordinances, which we've been addressing every year for a number of years now, which include a glass-free zone, the street closing for safety reasons. Again, all 4 of these are with the acknowledgement that safety is paramount. The vending license and a suspension, a temporary suspension on the noise ordinance. So we'll see all 4 of those present at our next meeting. Any other miscellaneous issues for the City Service Safety Committees? Any comments on those presented? Acting Mayor Sands, is anything? Nothing, sir?
Thank you.
Okay.
No, thank you.
Moving on. Oh, Jeff, yes, actually, if you're able to share, and this falls under planning and development, but this would be a revocable license and some information that we'll see on our agenda next week, correct?
Now, what I have here is paperwork. I think you all have a copy of it. It's rather thick. It concerns a revocable license request. And it says, please, attached, please find the paperwork for the new/revised request for a revocable license for a buried horizon line under West Union Street beginning at Blick Avenue and continuing to Jefferson Street to AEP pole per submitted drawings. And there's several documents and plans here. This is an amendment to approved Athens City Council Ordinance number 03412 to reroute Horizon service from originally submitted application and providing underground boring at the entrance of Hospital Drive on West Union Street. Included in this packet is the application administrative review sheet, so on and so forth. So that's what I have here, and I assume that we'll act upon it. And
my understanding as well is that this has been signed off and approved by our City Service Safety Director as well as our Public Works Director and Engineer, correct?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Seems so. So seems fairly cut and dry.
Super.
This is all part of that fiber optic route for the healthcare industry, I think, is the biggest thing. Yes, so it's all part of that program.
Thank you. Moving on to Finance and Personnel Committee with directed by Member Nisley. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. We have 4 items for discussion tonight. The first one being Perfection Group, which is a company that provided some equipment and infrastructure upgrades to the buildings that the city does its operations out of. And last week we had our initial discussion, and we had information provided also by Deputy Service Safety Director Ron Lucas, as well as Rick Anderson from the Perfection Group. Council members were provided with several worksheets, one of which was an option to Phase 2, $750,000 project, or $739,000 as one option. Another option being a lesser one of $385,000. And at our discussion last week, I think we were looking at possibly doing one portion of this Phase 2. And under discussion was lighting as an option, so lighting upgrades to some of the buildings, and that would be about $112,000. And then the other item discussed were what are called building envelopes, which are improvements to caulking windows, doors at various buildings around council. We have some of the detail. Auditor Hecht has also provided us with some of the details of those envelope descriptions of what would happen at each of the buildings. For instance, one of them is the water treatment plant that would receive, for $27,000, would receive 29 double pane windows. And Auditor Hecht is providing some additional information for us that I think will help guide our discussion tonight. What seemed clear last week was that the $112,000 investment in lighting, if we could accomplish this by August 31st, would also provide us with a rebate immediately to the city. And so this seemed possibly a logical first step. So what I'd like to do is continue that discussion a little bit further, take a look at what the auditor has provided for us, and have us walk through the costs. The other thing that we discussed last week is it's not just a lump sum for the city. There are some improvements that will be made to, like the City Hall building, the law building, and the fire station, which would come out of what's called the city's general fund. But then the city also has other accounts that are proprietary. We receive, for usage of water, the city receives money, and so there's a water fund. Similarly, there's also a sewer fund. There's also a street fund that's in part comes in with revenues from license and wheel tax money. Recreation department is also another one of those accounts that receives revenue in. So we're trying to tear apart really the costs and saying, are these beneficial to not only the general fund, but some of the other departments. So Kathy, would you walk us through the single sheet that you've provided to council members, and
Sure.
would that be helpful to review it?
Of course, threw this together this afternoon after you and Member Patterson and I met, and I think I emailed it about 6:30, so I'm sure none of you got that before you got here. Anyway, this was just a quick breakdown of, as Chris said, for the lighting and the building envelope, and how much would come out of different funds. And so, and then a total for both. So we have the general fund, and which improvements would come out of that. It's about $60,000, as you can see. The general fund does have that much in the unappropriated balance. The water fund, as you can see, the $27,000 for building envelope is highlighted because we talked to Andy Stone this afternoon, and he's not necessarily interested in doing the building envelope for the water treatment plant.
Okay.
So, but that, we just called him this afternoon. That's something that, Member Nice will probably talk to him more about. But even so, the water fund does have, be $50,000 altogether, but that's a big chunk of it. That's more than half of it for that. The sewer fund has a pretty low unappropriated balance. However, because some of these expenses, these buildings would be split among water, sewer, and streets, their total is less than $15,000. Originally, I had thought we would have to transfer money out of the sewer debt fund for that, but evidently not necessarily. The street fund is over $40,000, and they do have that. That would be another thing to talk to Andy about, though, I think, because a lot of that money that's available is sort of spoken for. He might already have plans for it, but that would be something for council to talk to him about. Recreation has money available. Their total is about $20,000, and the community center, of course, we just spent $350-some thousand on them. So this is really the maintenance garage that's in front of the community center, which would also be split with the recreation department. So that's a pretty minimal amount for that. So the total, and I will just say I put a star by the totals. These totals are what is on our spreadsheet from Perfection, and they don't quite match up to my figures because I didn't do any rounding. I just dropped all that stuff off. So they're off maybe a couple dollars, maybe even $8, but they're very close. But this is what Perfection has for our totals. Okay. So do you have any other questions about this? So this is what we would be spending for these two types of improvements.
And the thought would be, the reason we're looking at these by department and also looking at the unappropriated balance is that rather than borrowing any money at this point, we're saying, can we break apart the larger perfection proposal and say, we can afford the lighting, or we can afford the lighting and the envelope improvements to the buildings and do this without borrowing money at this point. So. Any other kind of, and Councilmember Patterson, you were noting this afternoon some, for some of the envelope improvements that they carry somewhat of a high cost to them without necessarily an immediate return on investment. And we know that we can't be expecting exactly and immediately. It's like when you do improvements to your home. But some things have a higher return on the investment than others. And so. Do you want to make a comment?
If I may. Yeah,
Sure.
Obviously, or not obviously, but what I have seen, as you have probably in your packages, is that the highest return right away is on going from the T12 to the T8 lighting. The lighting is pretty quick turnaround, pretty significant savings. With the building envelope, though, as I have gone through, as Member Nisley was just mentioning, as I was going through item by item and looking at them, again, it is replacing things such as windows. By and large, it's window replacement with double pane windows. In a couple places, like the service garage, it's replacing entire roll-up garage doors. It is interesting when you look at the annual savings for things like those, that the return on investment for building wraps in some cases is as high as 55 years, because the savings is so small for the amount of money that is being put into the purchase of those items. But there are others where the return on investment is significant in terms of getting the money back. Again, the service garage doors, I believe, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 to 5 years. Off the top of my head, I don't remember, but again, it's significant savings to have something like that done. So I think it's would behoove us to look at building wrap items with a pretty detailed look at them all, item by item.
Maybe a little.
I did send out right after our meeting, I don't know if everybody got that, but this was a detail from when we first started meeting with Perfection that tells you what they're talking about when they say building envelope, whether it's double pane windows or garage doors or whatever.
So from our discussion last week, if I might also just refresh all of our memories, that the rebate, if we were to go with the lighting improvements by August 31st, the rebate would be $23,000. So to reduce the cost from $112 by $23,000 down to about $89,000 outright is fairly reasonable. Yes, Councilmember Reisman.
It would seem to me to be prudent that if we go lighting first and realize some of those payback savings and rebates, and then later, if we so choose, to go for the envelope using that which is essentially a new source of revenue, the savings here, to defray the cost for envelopes and things.
You know, this can be looked at in almost an a la carte fashion if we choose to. And one of the things that I kind of did on my own was just to look at the items that seem to have a 10-year return on investment or less. And it's interesting, if you look at the whole table that Kathy has sent out to everyone, you'll see right away that things like automation of thermostats are another route to go. So again, we can look at things in a very different way, as opposed to saying, okay, we're going to do lighting and we're going to do building envelope, and that's what we're doing. Again, to look more carefully and I think be a little more savvy. I agree with what you're saying, Member Eisner, is that, you know, if we look at it in light of, we go after, or we look at high return on investment or rapid return on investment items, and see how that plays out and look at the savings. Because another big issue, as we all know, is that we have to really concentrate and attend to what these returns are we hitting the benchmarks for our returns? And monitoring those as they come in.
And we noted in our conversation, too, that we have some other information available, we hope, from some other cities, because Pickaway County has invested in some of the upgrades from Perfection and is saying that the energy costs easily make the payments, or, the savings on the energy costs. So we have I think some research we can do with other models, with other cities, and saying, also learn from them, too. How are they tracking those savings? Because I think that's what we need to be really careful about. And so, if I'm sensing that what would happen time-wise, since we need to do it by August 31st, the reason we need to have this discussion tonight, if now, that would call for an ordinance next Monday night, and we'd need to suspend that ordinance, particular ordinance.
I would like to voice my support for that as well, us moving forward, and I thank you for the two of you, as well as Auditor Heck, for meeting impromptu today to make this happen so we could get it on tonight's agenda. So obviously it expresses support for energy efficiency and smart dollars. So I want to voice my support, definitely, and feel that it's a no-brainer.
Okay. And then we can continue to work with the Deputy Service Safety Director, Ron Lucas, and other people. Mayor Sands, Councilmember, President Sands.
Representing Service Safety Director Paula Horan-Mosley,
yes.
She has expressed her strong support for the lighting only, and just as Councilmember Patterson has suggested, a little more focused attention given to the other possibilities, and working at it as he said, an a la carte menu. We don't have to go with all of this and none of that. We can pick and choose.
And the lighting improvements now are for interior structures, and I think a comment that you had made earlier, which was really helpful, we want to assure that the improvements that we make to the lighting efficiency also provide still a bright working environment, that we aren't necessarily dimming the lights on workers who are looking at a computer screen 8 hours a day, and it does make it difficult. So we want to have assurances from Perfection that we're also accomplishing that. So I appreciate that comment. Okay. All right. If agreement, then we will move forward with the lighting and look further along with the city administration on other improvements to be made later. Second agenda item has to do with a water line project update, and just to alert you that if the city does receive acceptable bids, and they are to come in on July 12th, if those bids for those water line project improvements are acceptable, that we would have a one-reading resolution next week of tentative award for that, so that we could get started with some of the improvements. So we'll be hopeful that the bid comes in and it works out well for us. I have a request also. We have talked earlier about an item really related to transportation, but it does have something to do with city finances, and this is the sidewalk improvements that will be made as part of the Grosvenor Street slip improvements. You might recall that we're doing improvements to Grosvenor and Morris Street. And as part of that process, what we do is then assess property owners for the portions of the sidewalk that is their responsibility and that need to be repaired. Those particular property owners are offered the option of having the sidewalks repaired with the crew that comes to do the city work. They can choose to do the work on their own. They can also choose a long-term payment option that's put on the property taxes. Citizens can also choose to appeal the decision made on whether or not the assessment needs to be made. When that happens, and we do have that happening where 3 citizens have requested a hearing process, we need a sidewalk assessment equalization board. That's composed of 3 members. We have 2 of the 3. We are in need. We thought we had a 3rd person, but the scheduling's not working out. So I have a personal request if those of you might have some further suggestions for people willing to serve on that board. It's only a one-time meeting, and you're provided with all the information ahead of time, and the before and after sidewalk photos and information on that. So, yes.
Can you tell us what the time frame is?
The meeting, Debbie? The final week in August is when the meeting will be held. So if people might be available then and might consider a one-time 3-hour public service, we would be extremely grateful. Okay.
And coffee and maybe even donuts, we don't know.
Served by the President of Council. Last item that we have is something that I will introduce, but our city auditor has more information for us. And this comes from the Greater Dayton Mayors and Managers Association. And what they have moved forward with is hopefully some legislation regarding the uniformity of tax regulations in the state of Ohio. And this is different from what Auditor Hecht has reported on earlier that was called the centralization of some of the operations. As I understand this, this would be making some of our practices in tax uniformity, or it would make them standard. So in other words, withholding would be at a certain rate and there would be certain rules applying. Qualifying wages would be looked at. And so Auditor Hecht will explain this to us, and we have, if it seems an agreeable thing to do, a one-reading resolution that might be proposed that would move its way to encourage the state legislature to move to make these items more uniform.
Did everyone get my email earlier that had all these attachments? So you've seen this stuff. This tax uniformity is going to happen, and it is all part of this centralized tax movement by the state, Ohio Society of CPAs and the Chamber, et cetera, and uniformity is not really a bad thing. You know, we have 579 entities in Ohio taxing people, and to have even just small changes that are different everywhere can be burdensome for businesses that operate in many localities. And so what we are doing, and we've been going to these meetings, and for the Ohio Municipal League and the tax group from that, and we talked about this, and everybody is pretty much on board with these changes. What the data group decided to do was go ahead and pass a resolution asking the legislators to go ahead and approve these uniform tax items, or in support of it. It still would be passed by the legislature, but this would be us supporting this effort, this movement. And so what I sent is their whole big thing is one of them. One's a sample resolution. But the main thing to look at it is the one that looks more like a chart, where it lists the changes and how it would affect Athens. And of course, our tax administrator, Tina Timberman, who has been here, put this together and how this would affect Athens. What has happened actually is Athens has been pretty progressive in paying attention to and making changes in our tax law. A lot of these we've already done. And so the big thing about the uniformity and what has scared a lot of entities is it going to cause us to lose money, which is a big thing. We don't think it will in Athens. There are places where we might, but other places where we will pick up money. And so on her final page, she has estimated that we might bring in, and of course this is a guess, but she thinks maybe around $600,000 a year. She put 720, but this could actually help us quite a bit. And as I said, if you look along here, you'll see a lot of them are no change for Athens, that we already have, uniform due dates. Our income tax used to be due April 30th instead of the 15th. Well, we made it in line with the federal and state due dates, which is just easier for everybody. Our minimum refund or tax liability cutoff threshold is $5. It was $1 when I started. And, it's not worth the paperwork and printing checks to refund $2 or $3. So we've already done that. A lot of entities haven't. And so a lot of those things are the same for us. The main thing that we're kind of worried about is the net operating loss forward, is there's a push to carry that for many years, and we don't allow it at all now, so that could be a loss. However, if we can encourage them to set a reasonable number of years, 3 or 5 at the most, for businesses to carry that loss, we will probably come out, just fine. And so I don't know if you've had much time to look at this. Does anybody have any questions about this? Tina said she'll come next Monday and answer any other questions in case you're not sure the last minute. But
I have a real basic question.
Okay.
I need to understand a little bit better the phrasing. So under the first page, it says qualifying wages, section 125, huge change for Athens. And so there were 125 exempted expenses from taxation in '03. So this is where Tina's estimating for us that we could collect $60,000 a month more than we are now?
Possibly. Those are, the Section 125 are what they call cafeteria plans. People at the university have a lot of those. The city has a few. And that figure of 60,000 is what I got from the finance officer at OU in 2005 or whenever that changed. And so yes, we lost that as a qualifying wage that we can't tax. It's for money that people get from that. So if they put that back in there, then yes, we will get tax money from that we haven't been getting all these years. So she says huge change, that is a plus for us, that's not a qualifying wage at this time.
So supporting the resolution that moves forward to change the Ohio Revised Code would change it for us.
Which they are actually already talking about. That's probably going to change, and so we are supportive of that, and then that would become a qualified wage for us.
Okay.
Some of our qualified wages are set locally, but most of them are actually set by the Ohio Revised Code or, even federal statutes as far as what, I think many of you have seen there's a letter to the editor about why we don't tax retirement benefits and stuff like that. Well, we're not allowed to. And so all of those aren't necessarily our choices. I'd tax it all if I could, but no. So there are quite a few things that we're not allowed to tax, but that's not our decision. And that would be the same with the Section 125. That was a state decision not to tax that, like I said, 6-7 years ago, I believe. And so there's a movement to change that. So then we would change our ordinance, and so would the other entities, to list that as a qualified wage, taxable wage. That makes sense?
So, fellow council members, does this seem to make sense to move forward in support of the resolution?
I think it's going to happen anyway.
Seems reasonable.
Turns out to be exactly what we put forward, but these are the recommendations. Basically, I think that our tax groups are trying to, preempt, CPAs and the chamber of setting these rules totally. And so if we can, and we understand, a lot of these are things that they want, but we're trying to balance them so that we don't have a 20-year net operating loss forward, it can be reasonable. And so we support these changes and the idea of uniformity. These are the ones that we've come up with based on things they have said, because they haven't put anything actually in writing forward saying what changes they want. We just hear things at these meetings. And so this would be Athens City Council supporting uniformity. And, we do that too. As I said, some of these would help us, some wouldn't, but, uniformity is a good thing.
Councilmember Reisner.
Just looking down the road with all this, do you see it at some point where the state is just going to say all cities are now going to charge the same tax? It's all going to be 2%. That's it. Athens is 2%. Cleveland is 2%. And we'll lose that local control of raising our own revenue?
Yes. I don't know that they'll do that. I think there would be a lot of uproar. There's quite a difference in how much different cities charge, and 1/4%, 1/10%. We know that brought in $600,000 last year for our street rehab fund in 1 year, and that's just little old Athens.
Right.
So a city like Columbus, Cleveland, a 1/10% tax increase is huge money for them. So I think it would be really hard for them to do that, but I do think they would probably like to. And I don't know if if they could set a base tax, I don't know, it might preempt us from passing our own local taxes, which is what we do now. I don't know.
It kind of seems that way to me, depending on, I see
And
conspiracy
this
theory
also
where-
won't necessarily discourage them from trying to institute the centralized tax collection either. In fact, this makes it easier for them, which is why they might have put this out there. But what we hear is it's just really the CPAs started this, and they just really want it to be easier to fill out forms for business owners who are different in different places. And so, we're not totally opposed to that. I was surprised that a lot of entities had such low thresholds for refunds or collecting taxes. We don't expect people to send us $2 checks either. So, it works both ways. And we're not, this is really just in support of the uniformity, which I believe is going to happen anyway. But I would like the tax administrators to have a say on what some of them are. And that's what this really amounts to, is our local officials. And we haven't done this, but there have been mayors and city managers testifying at the House Ways and Means Committee on this issue, mostly from bigger entities, but they want to hear from people besides the tax administrators also. And so the last one they had that Tina did go to there were a lot of other city officials there representing the administration and speaking to how this would affect their local revenue.
Well, thank you for following all this. I know that you've invested a lot of time in it, and thank you for bringing it forward to us. It seems like we have consensus amongst the council members to support this and bring it forward next week.
We have a sample resolution that they use in the Dayton area, and so, feel free to make changes, but I would like us to support this endeavor.
Okay. Are there any other miscellaneous items for the Finance Committee? Finance and Personnel? Okay.
In closing here, I just want to, again, express thanks to Ron Lucas, who I believe just started his own vacation, but many of us were receiving emails all week regarding the extreme heat and the city's efforts to accommodate people. The pool was open all week for free. There were cool spots at the community center. The university was also working hard to accommodate people. And we survived as a community. I think, again, that's just a testament to who we are here and our willingness to reach out to each other. But I think, again, Ron, with the mayor on vacation and the city service safety director on vacation, Ron was really doing a little double time there, and his efforts didn't go unnoticed. Anything else? Okay. On that note, we are finishing up on or around 8:27. Thank you.